Not guilty as charged. This is what the House of Representatives appears to be saying as it clears 3 of the members of the allegations of sexual misconduct brought against them by a former United States ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. James Entwistle. This is one of the recommendations approved today by the House after considering the report of a joint committee that investigated the matter. The joint committee said it found that there was no evidence to back up the allegations leveled against the representatives Garba Gilolo, Mark Miller and Samuel Iko. The House is also asking the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to write to remind the United States Embassy to always adopt official means of communications in its dealings with any organ or institution of government. 5,000 neighborhood watchers are to be recruited as part of the efforts to boost security in Lagos State, especially in the community level where kidnapping has become a rampant incident in recent times. This was revealed by the State Governor, Mr. Akinwumi Ambode, who was responding to concerns and questions from residents during the third quarter 2016 town hall meeting. Governor Ambode announced the completion of 114 rural roads as one of his major achievements between July and September, with a promise for the launch of another phase of the project.
It's the turn of the people of Lagos Central Senatorial Zone in the third quarterly town hall meeting in 2016.
Thank you very much. As you abide with this, our agreement.
The meeting is an interactive platform for Governor Akinwumi Ambode to render his account of stewardship, engage the people on their needs and how government can serve them better.
Knowledge-based communities that drive knowledge economy.
The governor begins by listing achievements in the previous quarter.
Among the key highlights in this last quarter that we are reviewing is the completion and handing over of 114 roads across the 57 local governments and LCDAs in that last quarter. We have achieved a major reduction in the travel time on the 3rd Mainland Bridge and other axes with the construction of the lay-bys at Oroshoki and Ketu. We have installed new bus shelters at Tafawa Balewa Square. I'm happy to report that 422 students successfully participated in our Ready, Set, Work entrepreneurship and employability training program.
While these developmental efforts may be evident, many seem skeptical about the government's effort in dealing with kidnapping, the new wave of crime in remote communities.
The rate of kidnapping, violence, gangsterism in all the various local governments that we have of our branches is very alarming. The security of Lagos State involves the youth of Lagos State. We want youth security network.
The Neighborhood Corps Agency is going to recruit, in addition to those who are qualified, who are also neighborhood watchers now, additional maybe 5,000 neighborhood watchers across all our local governments. And the payment of their salaries will be done by us. The entrance level will be 25,000 per month. We want to create dignity of labor with those who will be watching over us.
Dr. Ambode says his administration will concentrate on more capital projects in the next quarter, including the second phase of the work on 114 roads across the state.
You're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, celebrating 21 years of professional broadcasting. Time now for business news as we shift over to Emana Amoe for details.
Many thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says government plans to raise a fund worth 1 trillion naira with the help of private investors to finance mortgages for low-income earners. The Vice President, who made this statement today at the ongoing Nigerian Economic Summit in Abuja, says the country needs to build about 17 million houses annually to catch up with a fast-growing population. The United Nations estimates that Nigeria's population will more than double to 400 million by 2050 to become the third most populous country in the world after China and India. Nigeria currently suffers from a housing deficit, and only few banks offer long-term mortgages due to high interest rates. This makes them unattractive for buyers and risky for lenders worried about defaults. And now to some company earnings news. United Bank for Africa has reported a 7.41% growth in gross earnings to the tune of 265.52 billion naira for the period ended September 2016. The impressive Q3 earnings also climbed 7.30% in pre-tax profit to 61.55 billion. Profit after tax is put at 52.26 billion naira. UBA's earnings per share stands at 1 naira 75 kobo with an interest income of 183 billion naira. The Tier 1 bank closed trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange up by 2% to 4 naira 18 kobo today. In the meantime, for a second time this week, the local stock markets closed positive, with most of Tuesday's activities attributed to the consumer goods and banking sectors. For more on today's transactions, here's Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Key indicators at the Nigerian Stock Exchange rose further by 32 basis points at the close of Tuesday's trading. UBA emerged as the most traded equity for the day, with 83 million shares traded just as it released its third quarter earnings for the year, while Zenith Bank and GT Bank followed as top contenders. Now, Tuesday's transaction was impressive as investors traded a total of 231.1 million shares, worth 2.71 billion naira in 3,335 deals. The top three gainers from a list of 13 were Seplat, Vitafoam and Livestock Feeds. Of course, Fieldson Healthcare, Guinness and Nymet led 18 other stocks as the three significant losers. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Millicent Walker.
Very many thanks, Millicent. Africa's largest economies, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana and Kenya, are reeling under a number of domestic and global headwinds, calling into question the recent sentiments of Africa rising. At the just concluded annual meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C., some of the continent's finance ministers spoke on how fragile their economies are and steps being taken to resolve these challenges. Channel's business news editor, Boson Omofaye, reports.
In Washington. Now, the annual meetings of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund presents African economies the opportunities to look at the challenges the continent face, review the progress that's been made, and put them within the context of the global economy. For the 2016 annual meetings in Washington, it's no different.
Economic governance looking at what we must do in terms of the legal framework regulation, particularly around public expenditure management.
But in the face of dwindling resources due to cycle of commodity downturn, how are African countries managing this scarce resource?
The first one from our Guinean side is to enhance domestic resource mobilization with the increase in tax and non-tax revenues. There's also the question of, how can we better mobilize remittances?
Well, for countries within Africa, challenges vary across regions, north, east, west, and southern part of the continent. For new and small countries such as South Sudan, there are hopes, according to the finance minister, that things will get better with regional cooperation within that corridor.
We agreed in this forum to pool our resources, to work together, to build infrastructure, energy, road networks, telecommunications, which all this will create employment for youth and give the hope to our people.
Now, African finance ministers, central bank governors and other delegates will depart these annual meetings with a lot to think and act for the remainder of 2016 and for the 2017 fiscal year. For Channel's Business News, I am Bosun Omofaye.
Well, from falling oil prices to latest disappointing corporate earnings, global markets, especially in Europe and Wall Street, closed lower on Tuesday. Let's see the numbers. That's our package on Business News tonight. I'm Imana Amawe. The broadcast continues.
Now, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICAN, has called on Nigerians to ask questions and make public office holders account for their stewardship. The president of ICAN, Mr. Titus Shoetong, made a call at the 46th Annual Accountants Conference in Abuja. According to him, the lack of accountability in public and private offices has contributed greatly to Nigeria's underdevelopment.
Disposing of everybody's assets.
It's the 46th Annual Accountants Conference in Abuja. Chartered accountants from across Nigeria and top government officials are all gathered in this hall. The theme for the conference is Accountability Now, Nigeria. In her remarks, the president of the International Federation of Accountants, Ms. Olivia Cutley, explains the relevance of the theme for Nigeria.
Nigeria, similar to other nations with dependency on commodities, is experiencing significant budgetary pressures. This pressure firmly places the spotlight on fiscal responsibility, making transparency and accountability absolutely necessary.
The president of ICAN, Mr. Titus Shoetong, emphasizes the need to hold public office holders accountable for their stewardship.
Without upholding the principles of accountability and transparency, it may be difficult to nurture and sustain good governance. We have a responsibility to hold our leaders answerable and accountable for their deeds while out of office.
On his part, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, explains the importance of accountability to national development.
I think that holding the public officer to account, is going to be a very key way of ensuring that we're able to bring the development that we promised to bring.
The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, explains the benefits of some recent economic reforms of the government.
And we've been able to drive down overhead considerably and identify considerable savings in the way government runs its overhead. And of course, those savings are creating the headroom that is needed to invest in the capital that will actually get the economy growing.
The conference is expected to come up with a communique which organizers hope will help enhance accountability in public and private offices going forward.
Next on the news at 10, Algeria Football Federation sacks head coach Milovan Rajevac following Desert Foxes' home drawn with Cameroon Indomitable Lions in 2018 World Cup qualifier, and that's coming up on Sports News.